The apartment feels smaller now than it did when I first moved in. Studio, fourth floor walk-up, no elevator. 700 square feet that costs me $1,800 a month in this part of Cincinnati. The radiator clanks at night, keeping me awake with its metallic rhythm that sounds like prison bars closing. I used to live in a 4-bedroom house with a pool. I used to have a husband who loved me more than I deserved. I know exactly when everything fell apart. Tuesday, March 15th, 2 years ago, 3:47 in the afternoon. That's when Ryan walked into our bedroom and saw me with Derek. He didn't yell, didn't throw things, didn't even say a word. He just stood there for maybe 5 seconds, looked at both of us, then turned around and left. I heard his car start in the driveway. I heard him pull away. That was the last time I saw him. People always want to know why I did it. They assume there must have been problems in the marriage, that Ryan was distant or cruel or that the spark had died. None of that was true. Ryan was everything a woman could want in a husband. Thoughtful, hardworking, devoted. He remembered every anniversary, brought me flowers just because, made me laugh even after 12 years together. He was the kind of man who would get up at 2 a.m. to get me medicine when I was sick, who would spend his entire Saturday fixing things around the house without being asked, who still held my hand when we walked through the grocery store. The truth is simpler and uglier than any excuse I could make up. I was bored. Bored. Such a small word for something that destroyed everything. I had been working from home for 2 years by then, spending my days in yoga pants, answering emails, attending virtual meetings where I kept my camera off. Ryan left for his job at the engineering firm every morning at 7:30, came home at 6:15. We'd have dinner, watch something on Netflix, go to bed. Weekends were for errands, seeing friends, maybe a dinner out. It was comfortable, predictable, safe. I remember the Friday night 3 weeks before I met Derek. Ryan came home at 6:15, as always, but with a bouquet of tulips from the grocery store, my favorites. "Just because," he said, kissing my cheek. "Thought we could get takeout from Luigi's tonight. I already called in our usual. Chicken parmesan for him, eggplant rollatini for me, extra breadsticks, side of meatballs. We'd been ordering the same thing for 5 years. I smiled and thanked him. Put the flowers in the same vase I always used, in the same spot on the dining room table. He changed out of his work clothes into his comfortable jeans and that old Ohio State t-shirt, settled onto his side of the couch and asked about my day. I told him about the conference call that ran long, the client who kept changing requirements, the same stories with different details from the day before and the day before that. He listened, really listened, asked follow-up questions, offered to talk to his friend who worked at a competing firm if I wanted to switch jobs. So thoughtful, so predictable. I looked at him, this good man who loved me exactly the same way he had for 12 years, and felt like I was suffocating. "Maybe we could try that new Thai place instead," I suggested. His face fell just a little. "Oh, I already paid for Luigi's, but we can do Thai next week?" "Next week, always next week." I forced another smile. "Sure, Luigi's is perfect." We ate our usual meals, watched 2 episodes of a show we'd been following for 3 seasons, went to bed at 10:30. He reached for me, and I turned away, claiming I was tired. He kissed my shoulder, said he loved me, and within minutes was breathing steadily in sleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling, 36 years old, wondering if this was it, if this was my life. Every Friday, every weekend, forever. Derek was none of those things. I met him at the gym I'd joined in January, part of my New Year's resolution to get in shape. He was a trainer there, though not mine. 28 years old, covered in tattoos, with the kind of confidence that comes from knowing every woman in the room is looking at you. He started talking to me by the water fountain one day, something about my form on the treadmill. Within a week, he was texting me. Within a month, I was lying to Ryan about where I was going. The lies started small. Grabbing coffee with my sister. But I'd drive past the coffee shop to Derek's apartment. Extra yoga class. But I'd be in the back seat of his Camaro in an empty parking lot, feeling like a teenager again. Traffic is horrible, but I'd be sitting in my car 3 blocks from home, fixing my smudged makeup, trying to get the smell of Derek's cologne off my clothes. Ryan never questioned any of it. That's what 12 years of trust looks like. When I said I was somewhere, he believed me. When I came home late with my hair differently styled than when I left, claiming the salon was backed up, he'd kiss my forehead and ask if I wanted him to order Chinese food. When my phone buzzed at midnight and I claimed it was work, he'd roll over and go back to sleep, secure in the knowledge that his wife would never betray him. The closest call came 6 weeks into the affair. Derek and I were in his car, parked behind an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. We'd just finished, well. My phone rang, Ryan's ringtone filling the car. "Don't answer it," Derek said, his hand on my thigh. But I had to. Ryan never called during lunch unless something was wrong. "Hey, honey," I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hey! Just wanted to hear your voice. Having a rough day?" He sounded so happy, so innocent. "Also, wanted to let you know I'm making that salmon you like tonight. Picked up some of that wine you mentioned wanting to try." Derek's hand moved higher on my leg. He was smirking, enjoying this. The danger of it. The power of knowing he had another man's wife in his car while that man talked about dinner plans. "That sounds great," I managed. "I'm actually stuck in traffic right now. Accident on the highway." "Oh no." "Which highway?" "I can check the traffic report, maybe find you a better route." My heart hammered. I wasn't near any highway. "It's okay. Looks like it's clearing up." "I'll see you tonight." "Drive safe. Love you, Jen." "Love you too," I said, the words like ash in my mouth. Derek laughed when I hung up. "Love you too," he mimicked. "That's cold, even for you." Even for me. And that should have been my wake-up call. When the 28-year-old gym trainer I was cheating with thought I was cold, maybe it was time to reevaluate. Instead, I kissed him to shut him up, pushed down the guilt, and told myself Ryan would never know. No one was getting hurt. I told myself it was harmless at first. Just coffee after a workout, just someone to talk to during the long, empty days. Derek made me feel young again, desired, like I was more than just someone's wife. More than the woman who reminded her husband to take his cholesterol medication and sorted the recycling every Thursday. When he looked at me, I wasn't boring Jennifer from accounting. I was sexy, mysterious, worth pursuing. The first time we kissed was in his car after a workout. I sat there for 20 minutes afterward, staring at myself in the mirror, trying to recognize the woman looking back at me. I went home and made Ryan's favorite dinner, tried to push down the guilt with pot roast and red wine. He thanked me, did the dishes without being asked, told me about his day. I smiled and nodded and felt like my skin was on fire with shame. But I didn't stop. The excuses came easily. Ryan would never find out. It wasn't serious. I deserved to feel alive. Everyone had crushes. It was just physical. I wasn't hurting anyone. The lies I told myself were almost as numerous as the lies I told my husband. Pilates class ran late. Traffic was terrible. Meeting an old friend for lunch, getting my hair done, shopping for a birthday gift. Each lie came easier than the last, until I could look Ryan in the eye over breakfast and tell him I loved him, then spend the afternoon in Derek's bed. Derek lived in a converted loft downtown, all exposed brick and industrial fixtures. It was the opposite of our suburban home with its matched furniture sets and family photos. When I was there, I could pretend to be someone else entirely. Someone who didn't have a mortgage, a retirement plan, a husband who trusted her completely. Someone young and free and unencumbered by the weight of adult responsibilities. The day Ryan caught us, I had told him I was working late on a project. He'd texted me around lunch, asking if I wanted him to pick up takeout for dinner. I'd said not to worry about me, that I'd grab something at the office. The office I hadn't actually gone to in 2 weeks because I'd been using my saved vacation days to spend more time with Derek. The sick part was how elaborately I'd planned that day. I'd left the house that morning in my work clothes, kissed Ryan goodbye like always, even reminded him about his dentist appointment the next week. I'd driven toward the office, then circled back once I knew he'd left for work. Changed into the lingerie I'd hidden in my gym bag, the red set I'd bought specifically for Derek, that Ryan had never seen. Applied the perfume Derek liked, not the one Ryan had given me for our anniversary. Derek had texted that morning, "Can't wait to see you." Cleared my whole afternoon. I'd felt powerful reading it, wanted, like I was the kind of woman who had a lover clearing his schedule for her, not the kind who reminded her husband about dentist appointments and sorted recycling. We'd been in bed for maybe an hour when I heard the front door open. My body went cold. Ryan never came home early. Never. In 12 years of marriage, I could count on one hand the times he'd left work before 5:30, but there were his footsteps on the stairs, his voice calling out, "Jen, your car's here. You working from home today?" I'll never forget the sound of his footsteps stopping at our bedroom door, the way the takeout bag rustled in his hand, the soft "oh" that escaped him, like he'd been punched in the stomach. Time stopped. I know people say that, but it really did. Derek froze mid-sentence. He'd been telling some story about a client at the gym. His hand was still gesturing in the air. The afternoon sun slanted through our bedroom window, the one with the curtains I'd picked out last year, casting everything in golden light that felt obscene given what was happening. Ryan didn't look at Derek. Not once. His eyes were only on me, and they weren't angry. They were just empty, like he was looking at a stranger wearing his wife's face. The takeout bag slipped from his hand in slow motion. I heard the containers hit the floor, sauce probably spilling onto the carpet I'd insisted we needed when we remodeled. His mouth opened like he was going to say something. I saw his throat work, swallowing whatever words were trying to come out. Derek started to speak. "Hey man, this is awkward." But Ryan still didn't look at him. It was like Derek didn't exist. Like I was the only person in the room who could hurt him, and I had. 5 seconds, maybe 6. But I lived a lifetime in those seconds. I saw our wedding day in his eyes, saw the moment drain out of them like water from a broken glass. I saw every Saturday morning coffee, every shared joke, every whispered, "I love you," evaporate. His shoulders dropped, not in defeat, but in recognition, like he'd been waiting for this moment without knowing it. Then he turned and walked away. No slamming doors, no shouted accusations, no dramatic exit. Just the quiet sound of his footsteps going back down the stairs, measured and steady, like he was concentrating on each one. Later, I found out that Ryan had left work early that day. His boss had given everyone the afternoon off as a reward for landing a big contract. He'd stopped by my favorite restaurant to pick up lunch as a surprise, driven to the house, planning to eat with me on the deck since it was the first warm day of spring. He'd seen my car in the driveway, figured I'd finished early too. I can still picture his face in that doorway, not angry, not even surprised, really. Just disappointed. Like he'd been expecting this, waiting for it even. Like I'd finally lived down to what he'd always suspected I was capable of. The look lasted maybe 5 seconds, but I've replayed it thousands of times since. The way his shoulders dropped, the way he blinked twice, slowly, as if trying to clear his vision. The way his hand released the takeout bag, letting it fall to the floor. Derek scrambled for his clothes, muttering something about how this was awkward, how he should go. I pulled the sheet up to cover myself, opened my mouth to say, "What? I'm sorry? It's not what it looks like? I love you?" Nothing came out. Ryan looked at me one more time, really looked at me, like he was memorizing my face. Then he turned and walked away. I threw on a robe and ran after him, barefoot, my hair a mess. By the time I reached the driveway, his car was already backing out. I stood there on the concrete, watching him drive away, the neighbors probably getting an eyeful. Mrs. Patterson across the street was watering her flowers. She turned her back on me. Derek left while I was still outside. Didn't say goodbye, just slipped out and drove off in the opposite direction. I went back inside to find the lunch Ryan had brought scattered across our bedroom floor. Chicken marsala from Antonio's, my favorite, a small container of tiramisu, a bottle of the sparkling water I liked. All of it was still warm. I called Ryan's phone over and over, straight to voicemail every time. I texted apologies, explanations, pleas for him to come home so we could talk. The messages showed as delivered but never read. I drove to his office, but his car wasn't there. I called his brother Tom, who told me in a cold voice that Ryan didn't want to talk to me and I should stop calling his family. That night, I sat in our living room, still in the same robe, waiting for him to come home. He didn't. Around midnight, I finally changed clothes and drove to every place I could think of where he might go. His gym, his favorite bar, the park where he liked to run. Tom's house, where the porch light went off as soon as I pulled up. His best friend Mike's apartment, where no one answered even though I could see lights on inside. I went home and waited some more, called in sick to work the next day and the day after that. By Thursday, when I finally went to the office, everyone knew. The way conversations stopped when I walked by. The way people avoided eye contact. The administrative assistant who usually chatted with me about her kids suddenly had urgent filing to do whenever I approached. Friday afternoon, I came home to find half the house empty. All of Ryan's clothes, his office, his tools from the garage, the gaming system he'd saved up for. The coffee maker he'd bought me for Christmas but was the only one who used it. His grandmother's china from the dining room hutch. All gone. No note, no forwarding address, no divorce papers yet, though I knew they were coming. But it was the small things missing that broke me. His coffee mug with the chip on the handle from when he'd dropped it during a move. The ratty college sweatshirt he wore on Sundays. The photo from our honeymoon in Jamaica that sat on his nightstand. The sticky notes he'd leave on the bathroom mirror with silly faces drawn on them. The bookmark from the last novel he'd been reading. Even his toothbrush was gone. A gap in the holder like a missing tooth. He'd been surgical about it. Took only what was his, nothing we'd bought together. Left the expensive espresso machine we'd splurged on last Christmas. Left the signed baseball from the game where he'd proposed to me. Left our wedding album on the coffee table, closed like a coffin. I found one thing he'd forgotten, or maybe didn't forget. His wedding ring, sitting in the exact center of my pillow. No note, just the ring, still warm like he'd been wearing it until the last moment. I tried to reach out to our mutual friends, but they'd already chosen sides. Sarah, who'd been my maid of honor, sent a text saying she needed space. Lauren, who I'd known since college, blocked me on everything. The couples we used to have dinner with every month stopped inviting me. I found out later they were still seeing Ryan, that he was doing fine, that he'd asked them not to share any information about him with me. Derek texted me once, about a week later. "Hey, that was crazy. Hope everything's cool." I didn't respond. What was there to say? I saw him at the gym a few weeks after that, already flirting with a new woman by the weight machines. He gave me an awkward wave. I canceled my membership that day. The divorce papers came a month later. Ryan asked for nothing more than what he'd already taken. Didn't want alimony, didn't fight for the house, didn't even ask for the wedding china. His lawyer informed mine that his client wanted no contact and would appreciate if I respected that wish. I signed everything. What else could I do? I kept the house for 6 months before I realized I couldn't afford it on my own. Couldn't stand it either. Every room held memories. The kitchen where we'd danced while dinner cooked. The living room where we'd spent countless Sunday mornings reading the paper. The bedroom where he'd caught me destroying everything we'd built. The house sold quickly. A young couple, pregnant with their first child. The wife gushed about the big backyard, perfect for kids. I wanted to warn her. Tell her to hold on tight to what she had. tell her that boredom was a luxury she couldn't afford. Instead, I took their offer and moved to the studio apartment on the other side of town. My sister Beth was the only family member who still talked to me, though even she couldn't hide her disgust. "How could you?" she asked during one of our awkward coffee meetings. "Ryan adored you. Do you know how many women would kill for a husband like that?" I knew, of course I knew. But knowing didn't change what I'd done. 2 months after Ryan left, I made the mistake of going to our old grocery store. I'd been shopping across town to avoid running into anyone, but I needed a specific ingredient for a recipe, and they were the only store that carried it. I thought if I went early on a Tuesday morning, I'd be safe. I was comparing brands of olive oil when I heard the sharp intake of breath behind me. Sarah, my former best friend, my maid of honor, the woman who'd held my hair back when I had food poisoning on my bachelorette trip. She was dressed for work, probably grabbing coffee from the Starbucks inside the store. Our eyes met, and for a second I thought maybe we could talk. Maybe I could explain. "Sarah," I started, taking a step toward her. Her face transformed from shock to something worse. Disgust mixed with pity, mixed with rage. She looked at me like I was something she'd stepped in. Without a word, she turned her cart around so sharply it squeaked against the linoleum. An elderly man had to jump out of her way. "Sarah, please, just let me—" She stopped but didn't turn around. When she spoke, her voice carried across the aisle. "You had everything, Jennifer." "Everything? And you threw it away for what? Some cheap thrill? Don't ever speak to me again." The olive oil display seemed to swim in front of me. Other shoppers were staring. A woman with 2 kids pulled them closer as they passed. I abandoned my cart and left, sitting in my car in the parking lot until my hands stopped shaking. That was the last time I shopped there. The last time I went anywhere I might see anyone from my old life. Work became unbearable. The whispers, the judgment, the way clients suddenly preferred to deal with other account managers. My performance reviews suffered. When layoffs came 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I wasn't surprised to be included. They gave me a decent severance, probably just to avoid any potential issues. I found a new job eventually, making $30,000 less than before. A smaller company where no one knew my history. I became the quiet one who ate lunch at her desk, who didn't go to happy hours, who deflected personal questions. I couldn't risk anyone finding out who I really was. What I'd done. Dating was a joke. Men my age wanted to know about my past, why I was divorced. Younger men like Derek only wanted one thing, and once they got it, they disappeared. I tried online dating, creating profiles that made me sound stable and normal. First dates that went nowhere when they sensed the damage I carried. Second dates that ended when they Googled me and found the social media posts from people who knew the story. Because everyone knew the story. Sarah had posted about it, vague posting about loyalty and appreciating what you have. Lauren straight up called me out, though she deleted it later. Mike posted pictures of boys' nights with Ryan, showing him laughing, surrounded by friends, clearly better off without me. The comments were always the same. He deserves better. Good riddance. Once a cheater, always a cheater. I found Ryan on LinkedIn 8 months after the divorce, senior project manager at a firm in Columbus. New city, fresh start. His profile picture showed him smiling, looking healthier than he had in years. I created a fake profile just to look at his page sometimes, to see if there were updates. There were. A promotion, a professional award, a charity 5K he'd run, a life moving forward without me. The charity run gutted me. It was for pancreatic cancer research, the disease that had taken his mother 5 years into our marriage. I'd held him while he sobbed in the hospital parking lot after she passed. I'd spoken at her funeral when he couldn't find the words. Now he was running races in her memory, and I wasn't there to support him. Someone else was. Someone better. Tom's wife Jessica posted on Instagram about a family barbecue. Ryan was in the background of one photo, laughing at something someone said. A woman's hand on his shoulder. Just a hand. but I stared at that image until my eyes burned. Slender fingers, a simple silver bracelet, nails painted soft pink. Not like my flashy acrylics I'd gotten to impress Derek. This woman didn't need to try so hard. I became obsessed with finding out who she was. Spent hours scrolling through Jessica's friends list, Tom's connections, looking for clues. Then, 3 months later, Jessica posted again. Ryan's birthday dinner. And there she was. Melissa. Elementary school teacher. Soft brown hair. Genuine smile. The kind of natural beauty that didn't need Instagram filters. In the picture, she was laughing at something Ryan said, her hand on his chest, looking at him the way I used to look at him. The way I stopped looking at him when I got distracted by trainer muscles and tattoos. The comments destroyed me. Perfect couple. So happy he found someone who appreciates him. She's exactly what he deserves. Tom himself commented, couldn't have picked a better sister-in-law if I tried. Sister-in-law, they were getting married. My ex-husband, who'd sworn he'd never love anyone the way he loved me, was marrying an elementary school teacher who probably never lied to him once, who probably thought his engineering stories were fascinating, who probably never felt bored on a quiet Tuesday night. I worked late most nights now because there was nothing to go home to. The studio apartment with its clanking radiator and view of the parking lot. Frozen dinners for one. True crime documentaries to fill the silence. Weekends stretched endlessly. I'd walk through the grocery store, seeing couples shopping together, and remember how Ryan would always sneak extra cookies into the cart when he thought I wasn't looking. My therapist said I needed to forgive myself, that everyone makes mistakes, that I needed to learn from this and move forward. But how do you move forward when you've destroyed the best thing in your life? How do you forgive yourself when you can't even understand why you did it? The gym where I met Derek closed down last year. I drove by when I saw the empty windows, the for lease sign. It felt like the universe's way of erasing the evidence, but the consequences remained. I thought about Ryan every day. Wondered if he ever thought of me. Hoped he didn't. Hoped he did. Sometimes I'd drive through our old neighborhood, past the house where we'd been happy. The new owners had painted it blue, Ryan's favorite color. They'd added a swing set in the backyard. I'd park down the street, watching the life that could have been mine play out with different actors. When the husband came home from work and the wife ran out to greet him, I'd drive away, stomach churning with regret. I ran into Mike at a coffee shop 6 months ago. He saw me, started to turn away, then seemed to change his mind. We talked awkwardly for a few minutes about nothing important. When I finally worked up the courage to ask about Ryan, Mike's face hardened. "He's good," he said simply. "Really good." "Happy. Is he with someone?" Mike studied me for a long moment. "Yeah, she's great. They're great together." "That's good," I managed to say. "He deserves to be happy." "He did deserve to be happy," Mike corrected. "With you? But you threw that away for what? Some kid with abs?" I didn't have an answer. There wasn't one that would make sense to anyone, including me. "You know what the worst part was?" Mike continued. "He blamed himself at first. Kept asking what he'd done wrong, how he'd failed you. Took Tom and me months to convince him it wasn't his fault, that some people just can't appreciate what they have until it's gone. Did he ever—" I started, then stopped. "Never mind." "Did he ever what?" "Ask about you." Mike laughed, but it wasn't a kind sound. "Once. Just once. About 3 months after he left. We were drunk, really drunk, and he asked if you were okay. I told him you were fine. Lied through my teeth because the truth, that you were calling everyone, showing up places, falling apart, would have made him feel guilty. And he didn't deserve to feel guilty for your choices." "I know," I whispered. "Do you, though? Do you know that he used to talk about you like you were some kind of miracle? That he'd show us the little notes you used to leave in his lunch and grin like an idiot? That he turned down a job offer in Chicago because you loved your job here? Do you have any idea what you had?" "Yes," I said, tears burning my eyes. I know exactly what I had. That's what makes it worse. Mike stood to leave, then turned back. Melissa, that's her name, by the way. She leaves notes in his lunch, too. Saw one when we were at a work site together. But you know the difference? She means them, and he knows she means them. He doesn't have to wonder if she's lying to him, if she's with someone else when she says she's at the store, if the life they're building together is real or just another lie. He left without saying goodbye. I sat there with my cold coffee, remembering all the times the four of us had double dated. The camping trips, the concerts, the New Year's Eve parties. All of it gone because I'd been bored. Last week marked 2 years since that Tuesday afternoon. 2 years since Ryan walked in on Derek and me. 2 years since he disappeared from my life without a word. I still check his LinkedIn sometimes, though there haven't been updates in months. Maybe he made it private. Maybe he blocked me even there. Tom's Instagram is private now, too. Sarah and Lauren barely post. Or maybe they just adjusted their settings to keep me out. I've accepted that I'll never hear from Ryan again. He's not the type to reach out years later, to give me the chance to apologize that I probably don't deserve anyway. He's moved on, built a new life with someone who values him, someone who doesn't need the excitement of secrets and lies to feel alive. Meanwhile, I wake up every morning in my studio apartment, get dressed for a job that barely pays the bills, and live with the consequences of my choices. I don't date anymore. Don't trust myself. When coworkers invite me out, I decline. When men show interest, I shut it down. I've become exactly what I was so afraid of being when I started the affair. Boring. Except now I'm boring and alone. Sometimes late at night when the radiator is clanking and sleep won't come, I let myself imagine what life would be like if I'd come home that Tuesday afternoon instead of going to Derek's. Ryan would have surprised me with lunch. We'd have eaten on the deck, talking about our days. Maybe we'd have made love afterward, the familiar, comfortable kind that I'd grown tired of, but now would give anything to have again. He'd have gone back to work happy. I'd have spent the afternoon in our home office, maybe texted him something silly to make him smile. We'd have had dinner together, watched Netflix, gone to bed holding each other. Such a simple life, such a beautiful life. And I threw it all away because I was bored. The therapist says I need to stop punishing myself, that 2 years is long enough. But I don't think there's enough time in the world to make up for what I did. Not to Ryan. He's moved on, found better. But to myself. Because in trying to escape a life I thought was boring, I created one that's empty. In seeking excitement, I found only regret. Derek probably doesn't even remember my name. Just another married woman he had some fun with. Ryan will remember me forever, but not the way I want to be remembered. I'm the woman who betrayed him, the cautionary tale his friends tell, the mistake he learned from. And me? I'm the woman sitting alone in a studio apartment at 38, successful career gone, marriage destroyed, friends scattered, family disappointed, all because I couldn't appreciate what I had. All because I was bored. The radiator clanks again, its rhythm steady and predictable, like my life used to be, like Ryan's love used to be. I close my eyes and listen to it, this sound that keeps me awake but also keeps me company. Tomorrow will be the same as today, and the day after that, and the day after that. A different kind of boring, the kind you can't escape from because it's not about your circumstances. It's about what you've lost, and knowing you'll never get it back.